Right, we are live. Peace be unto you. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God in the name of His Son, who the world calls Jesus Christ. Right. Welcome to the Sanctuary of Saints, where our mission is to develop and mature the children of God while building a self sustainable community. Though being inside the sanctuary is strictly for the children of God, I encourage all people to listen that they may live, mature, and one day be of service to the Most High through His people. Welcome to our weekly news class, where we synchronize current events with the unfolding and fulfillment of biblical prophecy. This class is for the purpose of preparing the listener spiritually, mentally, and physically for the events that must surely come to pass. So, I want to start with a brief recap of where we are in the world conflict. Of course, last week we did a mighty powerful lesson, a breakdown on the situation with war in Iran, started by the United States and Israel. We did a wonderful breakdown on that, where we learned that this war that is beginning is the start of the war stated in Second Esdras, the 15th chapter, verses 27 through 37 specifically. Okay. And we learned about the impending destruction that is going to come upon the earth through the plagues and punishment that the Most High is orchestrating. And we learned why this punishment was occurring for the wickedness of man and also to free the children of Israel. So we went through the sides, right, that we're going to be developing in this war. And I want to stop right quick and ask if we remember those sides, right? So we had the dragons of Arabia, or the dragon and the Arabs, depending on what version of the Bible you're reading, as well as the Carmanians. Okay. So I want to ask to see if brothers remember, right? Which side was the dragons of Arabia that we're seeing today, and which side are the Carmanians? See if brothers remember.
The Carmanians would be the side of, was it Iran? Would it be that side? And then you said the 12 dragons. That would be America, the side of America, correct?
Well, you didn't sound too sure. All right, I'll answer in a second your question. I asked the question, so now you want me
You're
to
right.
answer your question.
Right.
Eli, what you got?
I actually don't remember that one fully to answer it.
All right. So this is why we have to do it over and over, and repetition is key. So again, you know, Aaron, you were, guessing correctly, I would say. That's what you were doing. So the Carmanians are the side of Iran and its allies in the region. So that would include Lebanon, that would include Palestine, that would include Yemen. They have proxy groups specifically in those regions, but Iran is the main force there. Okay, they are the ones that are ready to do battle with the United States long term, as we'll find out in this class. They are um, the Armenians. Okay, them in the Houthi group. Okay, make sure you guys are remembering this, okay, because when we talk about this 2 and 3 years from now, right, we should be able to remember these classes. So we have the Houthi rebels, you have Hamas, okay, and there was one more fighting force that I forget, Hezbollah. Hezbollah. Okay, these are the main fighting forces in that region that are subsidiaries to Iran. Iran has their own special military, their own state is a powerful state. Okay, but these would be who the scriptures are referencing as the Carmanians. And we'll read it again. And the dragons and the Arabs will be the nations that are aligning themselves specifically in the Gulf, okay, specifically in the Gulf region with Israel. So this is going to include Saudi Arabia. Doesn't it says that should be number one popping in your head when it says the Arabs in second edge. Saudi Arabia is the top of the list. Dubai was actually struck today by Iran, right? And a luxury hotel at that. So you know Dubai is beautiful and things of that nature. It's a top tourist destination. It was hit today. So you have Saudi Arabia, you have the UAE, and it'll say all these countries in the class today. The United Arab Emirates, that's what the UAE stands for. And then you also have other countries like Qatar, or some people say Qatar. Who else would be included in that? Jordan. Jordan would also be included in that. And I might be missing one more. Let's see. Bahrain. Okay. So Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iraq as well. So you have Iraq, you have Bahrain, Qatar, all which have been struck by the Iranian regime. Why have they been struck? Because they are housing or hosting United States military equipment. All right, fellas, y'all got that?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
so these are the two sides, okay, that we're finding in scripture play out in real time. Okay? So always remember that. That being said, America is referred to as the hammer of the whole earth. Okay, we talked about this too. Why is America referred to as the hammer of the whole earth that we talked about, Aaron?
Because they're the ones that are causing the most damage. Military bases everywhere. Um, that's just how they move.
Yes, that's a good answer. So, Eli, you got anything you want to add to that? Why is America, we talked about this, referred to as the hammer of the whole earth?
They just, I would just second what Aaron is saying. They just uh, the authoritarian force out there. The
Right.
most, yeah,
Exactly. Hmm. Good answer. So they're referred to as the hammer of the whole earth because it is pounding the earth currently with war, with economic oppression, right, with political oppression, removing and toppling governments as they're unsuccessfully attempting in Iran right now. That is why they are referred to as the hammer of the whole earth. Even when you look into that word, we're going to read the exact book, chapter, and verse in which it is referred to as that. When you look at that word hammer, it means to pound, it means pounding. Let's read Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 23.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations?
And so this is a prophecy concerning after this place is destroyed, primarily and firsthand through the vengeance of the Most High, and through the vengeance of the Most High via his plagues that will shake and destroy the very foundations of this place. And then next will allow the enemies to come in and shoot their missiles and invade. Okay, so nobody's going to really press America right now. What the enemies are saying is that America is being destroyed from within. Okay? That's what they see. And so they're just going to allow that to continue to happen. And they're going to continue to build up themselves. And there will be an opportunity for them to come and spoil America. But I wanted to go there to highlight that America is in fact referred to as the hammer or Babylon, the text does say. But we understand through this class that that is specifically going into America, is referred to as the hammer of the whole earth. And this is what they are doing. America is the most wicked place, again, to ever exist. And it, via Israel, is a puppet. All right. They are a puppet to puppet masters. So we've done multiple classes on how Israel, the state of Israel, and the billionaires and trillionaires who back it are actually the ones in control and driving the U.S. decision making. Okay, they are the voice behind the voice, if you will, and it is becoming more and more clear to the general population that this is in fact the case. Okay, so we've done multiple classes on how Israel and the U.S. and specifically in prophecy are one in the same. Okay, Israel as an extension, if you will, right? The state of Israel as it currently is set up is an extension of the United States. So when we see in the book of Esdras, for example, in prophecy, the term eagle being used, right? That is the eagle that is being seen. It is the United States and Israel. Why? Because those who are the entities running the United States and Israel are the same, right? And those would be modern day Amalekites. Okay, so it's very important to understand the setup of what we're describing. So now you guys should have a good understanding when we're talking about the two sides in this war from Second Esdras chapter 15, okay, verses 27 to 37. You have the Arabs, right? The dragons of the Arabia, as the scripture says, versus the Carmanians. Okay. The dragons are all the Gulf countries that are aligned with the United States. Okay, that's the easiest way to remember it. And then the Carmanians are the Iranians and their proxy groups in the region, based out of Yemen, Lebanon, and Palestine primarily. Okay? So these two are at odds. Now, I want to continue by actually reading this passage of scripture. I'll read it. This is Second Esdras chapter 15, verse 27. Actually, I'll start at verse 28. Behold, a horrible vision and appearance thereof from the east. The nations of the dragon and the Arabs shall come out with many chariots, and shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them shall fear and tremble. Okay, so this is talking about what is going to happen. And we're seeing the development of this. So, why is it saying they are going to be coming out with many chariots, right? The reason why is because they are being hit by Iran right now, left and right. Their oil refineries specifically are being targeted, certain critical infrastructure. Iran's response to the United States aggression and Israel's aggression is, hey, we'll hit where you're stationed at throughout the region. And that's going to be twofold. Of course, we're taking out our enemy's military capabilities, but also we're disrupting the economy of those countries that we're hitting, and its citizens are being displaced, obviously. There are casualties, obviously, right, in all those countries. So they've hit all the countries that we named, which is why the entire Middle East is in a regional war. It has not escalated to the point where we see the chariots coming out, right? The chariots are going into the tanks, are going into the planes and things of that nature, and the troops, the ground troops. So we do know, this is what I was teaching you all, that this thing turns fully kinetic and on the ground, right? You're going to see ground forces. That's what this is describing. Okay. So these Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, you'll start seeing them not collectively at first together, right? But each one individually begin to strike back against Iran. And we'll talk about that more as class goes along. Okay. And then they're going to come in force. And then it says in verse 30, also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. So then the Iranians in their groups, all right, they're going to come out and they're going to be fighting back. This is talking about ground fighting primarily. Okay. And join battle with them and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Now, when you look at the map, right, and where that currently is, that is that region right there. It's really Iraq and Iran. So you're going to see heavy fighting there in particular. And I'm guessing the more so in Iraq because you have a group that supports Iran that is operating in Iraq. And then, of course, you have the Iraqis, which are operating in Iraq, and they are proxy groups of the United States. So you'll see, expect to see a lot of uh, heavy fighting in Iraq, actually, right? Iran and Iraq, they share a border, okay? So this is what that is going into specifically. Join battle with them and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So there's going to be a concentrated effort, even though it will be all over the Middle East in one part. And then it says, excuse me, in verse 31, and after them shall the dragons have the upper hand, and remembering their birth shall turn and form a powerful alliance to persecute them. So the dragons are those, like we said, right, that are proxy groups of the United States. They are going to then fully form an alliance to then attack Iran. They'll all be fighting Iran and its proxy groups individually. But when the battle gets heated, they'll realize, hey, we need to pull our resources together and we'll come together. Right now, they're not together. They're disjointed. They're not even really allies so much of the United States. They just do a lot of business with the United States. They get weapons from the United States, defense systems, which are not performing so great, I might add, at the moment. But eventually, they will come together because Iran is going to be winning, right? So they're going to realize, hey, the only way we can defeat them, which the U.S. and Israel will get together and say, hey, this is why we have to come together. We're only going to do so much. We supply you with this, we supply you with that. So eventually, the pressure is going to mount, and they will form a powerful alliance, but it's going to be massive bloodshed. Okay. Reading on. Verse 32, then these shall be frightened and silenced by their might and shall flee. So then there's going to be a retreat. You'll see a retreat from the Iranians, right? Reading on. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them. And in their hosts shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. So they'll get the upper hand. Okay. And there will be, strife and divisions among the Iranians and their people. Okay? But this does not mean a total victory. Though you can assume, and I assure you that the United States will be treating it like it's total victory. Meanwhile, all hell will still be breaking loose within the United States. You will have the same political unrest that you already have. A part of America being the hammer of the whole earth is what? Hammering its own citizens, as it were. Right? We see that. We forgot about ICE. Right? A lot of us forgot that ICE is going door to door and snatching people. And we forgot that. I need to do more classes on that to give you updates. They're now attacking ICE officers, fighting back, quote unquote, so to speak. So there's an escalation brewing here. Right, that will turn into civil war here. The economy is crashing here on two fronts. AI is taking jobs, on one end, and then this war is causing prices to climb on another end. So we have growing homelessness, starvation on the rise, which will mean more crime. All right. So we have everywhere imploding. This is also why America is counted as the hammer of the whole earth. Right? Reading on. And they shall come. Let me read verse 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south. They are very horrible to look on, full of wrath and storm. And they shall collide and smite against each other. A great multitude of stars upon the earth, and blood from the sword shall reach unto the belly. Now, I broke this down how this is spiritual, right? But it also has a physical manifestation. So I talked about how the stars, right, can be in reference to and are in reference to the angels, okay, and them having assignments of destruction. This does translate into the nations and their bombs and their missiles. Okay, so I posted on my page. I think Eli might have saw it. IUIC doing a breakdown, and it was very similar to mine. And they were breaking this down in that way to talk about the missiles and the heavy artillery that is raining down all over the Middle East. Okay, these hypersonic missiles that are traveling, okay, at the speed of sound at this point. A great multitude of stars upon the earth, and blood from the sword shall reach unto the belly. Okay, so it's talking about how this ground fight is going to be very, very bloody. Very bloody. It's going to get really, really ugly over there. So much so that it says that the blood is going to reach up to the belly. There's going to be blood flowing. And the next verse says, and dung of men unto the camel's hump. All right. Have we seen war that bad? We haven't. I haven't seen it look this bad. Right. We've seen the war in Iraq. We've seen Afghanistan. Those of us that are, my age and maybe a little younger. We've seen that. We haven't seen anything like this. I don't remember it being that bad in the Vietnam War where blood is that yay high is what we're talking about. Okay. So it's going to be very, very terrible in that region. Reading on, in short, great fear and trembling shall be on earth. Why? Because the whole earth is being affected. The whole earth's economy, as we've covered for years when this happens. Oil prices shoot up. We're seeing that happen now. You guys seeing oil prices or gas prices raise?
Yes.
Yep, the tank price. Yeah, yeah, yes. I know I am. I felt it. I felt it in my pockets yesterday. I said,
Man.
boy, $30 don't do nothing no more. $30 went from filling up the tank to give me to about 3/4 real quick. I'm like, yeesh. I gotta kind of plan my whole day different now. So this is just the beginning. This is why the whole earth is going to be trembling, obviously, because a lot of people are going to be dying. You're still going to have U.S. troops. They'll be on the ground. As I said, it won't be so concentrated with U.S. troops, but there will be a lot of U.S. troops there, okay, on the ground. There, obviously, Israel is being decimated at this point in retaliation. And all this, I do want to remind the listener, is for the purpose of clearing out the land so that the children of Israel, the true children of Israel, can return. So even though we are currently facing Jacob's trouble, our path out of it, our salvation is already being prepared. Right? It's being prepared in the midst of Jacob's trouble. Okay? So I wanted to just make sure that we had a good understanding of the war that we're talking about right now from the biblical perspective, the sides of the war, what we can expect to see out of that war specifically. We covered last week, continuing on, how these storms that the Lord was going to send, right, was going to begin to take over the whole earth immediately after that event where there's this scattering and there's a seeming victor, then the Lord will come with plagues and storms that will cover the whole earth. Okay. And then these storms are going to reach Babylon specifically and hit Babylon in such a way to incapacitate it. Right? No defense systems, no nothing. Okay? It already is in economic hardship, already dealt with or dealing with civil war. Okay? But also the Israelites are discovered and known through the science of technology. Right? A lot going on during this point. But those storms travel here, destroy the place, which then leaves opportunity for its enemies to invade. Okay? So they invade. But prior to their invasion, there is an announcement or such made, or an opportunity for the Israelites to make the Exodus. All right? To make the Exodus, which is where you get come out of her, my people. That is prior to America being invaded. So that's how it concludes. But as you can tell, this war is a central piece to that happen. Now, I'm not telling you this is all happening today or tomorrow. The scriptures don't do that. But we can see it escalating quickly, and that's why we do a weekly news class. So we're about 30 minutes in. We have quite a bit of information to get through. So I want to be getting through it. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 1. I want to give us an understanding very quickly of where America is right now in prophecy. Okay, a lot of us are talking about America being destroyed, and I can't wait till the missiles start hitting here. And what if a missile hits there? And listen, the country, the countries that are at war with the United States right now, they're not shooting any missiles here. Okay, at this point in time, it's not time for that. Okay, so don't expect Iran to. I know they're talking about, well, we're going to attack America, and we're talking about sleeper cells and things of that nature, and those are going to be more so false flag events. My elder, he actually posted that, you know, to pretty much be prepared for a false flag, and I 100% agree. You're going to get a false flag to rally America against Iran. That's what you'll get. That's what they'll do. All right, they'll say, "Well, see, Iran has activated its sleeper cell, or China has activated its sleeper cell." They have to give you a boogeyman for you to believe. That's a part of the propaganda, right? Which is the name of tonight's show, right? So this is part 2 of the United States versus Iran to give us that understanding of who's who and what's what, and also propaganda 101. It's very important that we re-go over propaganda. Aaron and or Eli, do you guys remember us doing a class on propaganda? If not, it's okay. It's been some time.
I do remember it vaguely, but I remember most of your classes, at least vaguely. But I do remember that class. I think he might have did 2 classes on propaganda. I'm not too sure.
I think it was a whole series on propaganda.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We did a whole series on propaganda, maybe about a year and a half to 2 years ago. And what I taught specifically is that propaganda is Satan's greatest tool.
Mm-hmm.
His greatest tool is deception, his greatest weapon. When Paul talks about us not being ignorant to Satan's devices, all right, what he's talking about is the deception that Satan brings. That's how he got Eve. Okay? That's how he gets most of us. It's through deceiving us into believing what is true is false and vice versa. Okay? And propaganda always has a little bit of truth to it. It has to, or else it would not be believable. So it is the manipulation of truth. And we talked about the propaganda that most Black and brown people are under, even the ones that are quote unquote in the truth. Okay? So I want us to understand exactly what America is right now and where it's heading, okay, through prophecy. So let's read Isaiah chapter 41, verse 1.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 41 and verse 1. Keep silence before me, O
Oh,
islands.
I'm sorry, excuse me, 47. 47.
All right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 47 and verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate.
Stop right there. Okay, I want to break this down. Come down and sit, okay, in the dust. This is where we are right now, where America is going from the cream of the crop to the bottom of the barrel. Okay, that's what it means when it says to come down and sit in the dust. And you're not going to be called what? Tender and delicate. What does that mean? That's going into how America is referred to as what? The land of the free, the home of the brave, the land of opportunity, the golden city, I've heard it called. All right? Y'all heard about the great American dream.
Mm-hmm.
That is what is being referred to when it says you are not going to be called tender and delicate. The place where everyone wants to come to have a good time. But what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's been the world tourist destination. Everyone wants to come here, has wanted to come here. And this is what it's talking about. No more is that going to be the case. And that is evident even today. Okay. For example, this is currently happening. As of October 5th, 2025, the US has fallen out of the top 10 in passport rankings, meaning people are not desiring anymore to come to America long term. That's what you would get a passport for. You come here for visas, you come here for school, you come here to live, right? Or you just come here as a tourist. So it is now fallen out of the top 10. It used to be what? Number one, right? But guess what? It has fallen out of the top 10. People are not coming to America anymore. Right? They don't like how America is treating foreigners primarily. The tariffs are another issue secondarily. Right? And then how America is treating its own citizens. So this combination, right, is happening. And why? Because of Esau's swelling pride. This is what is going on right now. So it says, come and sit in the dust. You're not going to be called tender and delicate anymore. I think we had a video to play on that. All right, I want to show us what this means. If you can play that, this is where we are right now.
Restaurants, even in the most popular parts of Los Angeles, are barely holding on. Growing expenses and fewer international customers are cutting deeply into profits. We hope that the tariffs are just temporarily. It seems like it's kind of this game that's being played right now. And unfortunately, there are real life ramifications from this game. We're holding tight just because we don't know what's going to happen. Tariffs had already created uncertainty around imported goods, but the decline in foreign visitors has made things worse. The World Travel and Tourism Council is projecting a steep 8.2% fall in international arrivals into the U.S. for 2025. And that is estimated to bring the international visitor spending in the country below $169 billion this year. That's much lower than last year's $181 billion. And among 184 countries studied in that report, the U.S. would be the only country where foreign visitor spending fell in
Stop
2025.
right there.
That slump.
Y'all heard that? So the United States is obviously in decline, but I wanted y'all to catch that out of all the countries, only the United States is declining in tourism. All right, did y'all catch that right there? Besides the money situation, obviously, the money's affecting the economy. Eli?
Oh no, I was just gonna confirm. I definitely heard that.
For sure. Yep. So I wanted us to be aware that this is what it looks like when it says you're not going to be called tender and delicate. This is what um, it looks like in Revelation 18. Let me go here and read it. When it says, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I am a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. Right? So this is what this is going into. America feels as if, hey, I'm untouchable. This is why I can do whatever I want to do, and who can do anything about it. Okay? So this is why it's saying you are not going to be called tender and delicate, and that's what you're seeing currently happening in the earth. People are saying, we're good on America. Now, a lot of Americans are ignorant to what I just said, completely ignorant. And that is a part of the propaganda. They still feel as if this is the best place on earth and everybody's just hating on us. A lot of Americans, or most Americans, feel that way because they are completely unaware of the information that I just gave right now, and especially those inside the church. Let's read the next verse, verse 2.
This is Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 2. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers.
Stop right there. This is describing them being the hammer of the earth. Remember, we talked about what that meant, right? To pound the earth. So when it says take the millstones and grind meal, that's grinding, right? So it's talking about America punishing and oppressing the earth. So yeah, he's saying you're not going to be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind. What does that look like? That looks like them going and taking out Venezuela leadership, trampling it and taking over their oil. It looks like them deploying ICE on its own citizens. It looks like them traveling, right? When it says what? Does it says, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass the rivers, right? It's saying, hey, expose yourself and say stupid things like, yeah, we're gonna take out Cuba next, right? That's them grinding the mill, right? Oppressing the earth. And that's them exposing themselves as the wicked and lying nation on the earth. So it's talking about America, expose yourself, do these things, pass over the rivers. Right? We've seen them passing over the rivers. They're sending their ships over to the Middle East, right, and to China and so forth and so on. How they carried out those attacks in open water near Venezuela, right? That was fair. That's what this is going into. It's saying, hey, go and do all these things. So when we're seeing America, man, America's going crazy, man. Right? You got memes, people thinking it's a joke, people thinking it's a game. No, this is biblical prophecy unfolding. So when you see these things, it's important to recognize, oh, this is where it's heading. When you continue to read down Isaiah the 47th chapter, it's a powerful chapter because it goes all the way to their demise. So it's important to know the actual destruction and the decline of America is highlighted perfectly, right, in Isaiah the 47th chapter. So that's actually where we are as well. We're seeing them take the millstone, grind mill, expose themselves to be the wicked and the profane of the earth. Let's read verse 3.
Verse 3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man.
You see that? So when it says your nakedness shall be uncovered, that's talking about what? It's iniquity, it's sins, it's atrocities. It just bombed a school in Iran and killed 175 innocent people. That has been confirmed world news today. There was some speculation about whether it was true. We known it was true, but it's an official investigation done, and it has been officially declared that America has bombed innocent civilians in its recent attacks in Iran. This is what it's talking about. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. And other countries are pointing the finger and shaming the United States now. So at first is, I don't want to go to the United States, I'm cool on it. Now it's, and see how fast that progressed from verse 1 to verse 2. That's all in a quick time frame. So it goes from, we don't want to go to the US anymore. It's not desirable for one reason or another. Then the next verse talks about America actually oppressing the other people and then exposing themselves, coming out and just saying it. We don't care anymore. We're not trying to hide it. Saying things like, we'll bomb them out of existence. Right? If they try anything else, we'll hit them with a force they've never been hit with before. If Venezuela does not put in and do what we say do, then we'll just take over their country forever. This is next. All right. Iran's regime, they want total regime change in Iran, but of course they're not going to get that. They're going to get second Esdras, the 15th chapter, which we will go into. So that's next. And then it says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah. Thy shame shall be seen. It says, I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. So now I want us to understand what he means there, what the Lord means there is his vengeance is not going to be on America like man's vengeance. Very simple. His vengeance are going to come by what? We've talked about this. The natural disasters. Right? Remember last week I said, what's the highest a cyclone or a hurricane can go? Right? And then we said it was like 5. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I said, imagine seeing a 10. We don't know what a 10 looks like. It's off the Richter. We haven't seen that before. That is what the Most High means when he says, I will take vengeance upon thee, and I will not meet thee as a man. Because man's vengeance would come by what? Military force, bombs, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So he's saying he's not going to meet America as a man. He's going to meet them as the Most High. The things that he's going to do to America, America is going to recognize as only God can do this, right? If earthquakes only go to the Richter scale of 10, right? What if you saw something larger than that? Expect to see that. That's the point that the Lord is articulating here. I'm not going to meet you as a man. I'm not the when I attack you, the things that I'm going to do to you, man is not capable of doing. That's also how he wants his respect in the earth for him judging in righteousness. Okay, so he makes sure to let America know that he is going to take vengeance and is going to be in a way where man has nothing to do with it. Right? So this is where we're headed. Verse 3 has not occurred yet. Okay? Verse 3 is going to occur after we see the events described in 2nd Esdras 15. So now I think we should have a good grasp of that from start to finish. You guys think got a good understanding of what we're seeing now and where it leads to?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna ask y'all again in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna ask y'all again about this war and what is the end of it and what's the outcome of it. Right? So bear that in mind. I want to make sure that we are actually locking in. So now go to Revelation 12 and 6. The topic tonight is propaganda, and I want to speak about it for a segment in class today. Very important that we in the nation, those of us who are attempting to keep the laws of the Most High with faith in Christ, do so without being deceived. Let's go Revelation chapter 12 and verse 6.
The
No,
book of Revelation, chapter
not
12,
six.
verse 6.
Not 6. I want where it says he deceived the whole world. Verse 9.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12, and verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
So I want us to focus on the part where it says, he deceiveth the whole earth. How does Satan deceive the whole earth? By what means? What is to be understood by that? Okay. Now we know that when we read up in the chapter, we're talking about war, right? War in the heavens. We're talking about spiritual war. And we're talking about war right now in this class. So the way that Satan deceives the whole earth is via propaganda. Propaganda is the tool that Satan uses to deceive the whole earth, Israelites included, especially Israelites. The definition of propaganda properly is the deliberate, systematic dissemination of biased information, rumors, or ideas to influence opinions, emotions, and behaviors to benefit a specific cause or sponsor. It often employs emotional manipulation over rational thought using techniques like name calling, bandwagoning, and false statistics, common in politics, war, and advertising. It shapes public perception. This is what propaganda is. Propaganda is systematic disseminating of biased information, usually in reference to politics, who you should vote for, who has the best policies, what they're going to do for you. So you get propaganda. Okay. War. Who's winning the war? Who's the bad guy? Why we're in the war? You're going to get propaganda because the goal or the object is for the person to believe something that is not true so that they can either stay in a docile state, not panic. There's a lot of reasons to deceive the people. Yield their rights, as we've seen time and time again. These are the reasons for propaganda. Nevertheless, propaganda is the main tool of Satan. So I continue to teach anyone who will listen, you cannot listen exclusively to mainstream media. They are the promulgators of the propaganda. Why? Because they are not media outlets that are independent, honest journalists. They are bought and paid for by the hierarchy who controls Israel and the United States. So there are certain narratives that they must spin. There are certain stories that they cannot write. And then there are certain stories that they have to write about in a certain way. It's all by default propaganda. Now, I want us to understand something here. War, especially, is going to bring forth propaganda. I want to give us a real life story. So, I have another brother on my dad's side, and he has a brother that is from his mom, and we grew up with him, right? He's significantly younger than us. Saw the kid grow up. He's a young man now. He entered into the military a couple of years ago, right? And I told him, just briefly, hey, America's headed towards war, and you definitely don't want to be a part of that because unless you really want to be a part, you could definitely going to see some combat in this tour. Right? I think you might have been signed on for about 4 years or something like this. Right? I told him, I said, you can expect to see some combat. And he's like, nah, man, I'm not gonna see no combat. I'm just gonna do this position right here. And my position right here, we don't even go and see combat. I'm like, all right, man. I already know America is going to have a draft in time. I have been teaching it for maybe about a year or two by that point. All right, we know there's going to be a draft. How do we know? Based off of what 2nd Esdras 16 says. All right. Long story short. So I'm like, you gonna see some. I was like, oh, but okay. All right, you got it, man. So now fast forward to today. I call my brother, see how he's doing, check on him. I asked him, I said, is his brother I said, is he ready for war? And he said, yep, he hype about it. I said, whoa. But then I said I wasn't surprised because what you've been seeing is propaganda. What they've been telling the troops is this is this battle must be waged to spark Armageddon and Christ's return. Right? That propaganda. Now we know that this war does lead to a chain of events that will bring about Christ's return. So there is some truth to that. But how they are telling it to the soldiers is that they are on the side of the good guys. They are on the side of righteousness. And the people that they're fighting, they are the devils and Satan. When in fact, it is the opposite. So through propaganda, they have hyped up their military. All right. The same individuals that say, hey, we're never going, I'm not trying to fight. I'm just trying to do my little four. I got all these benefits. Now they're amped to fight. And I thought to myself, y'all know, don't let that man pump your head up and get shot out here. Oh, Craig and Day. Boy, you from East Cleveland. You ain't no top flight. That's not you. But now his head is inflated, right? And he's ready for war. This is propaganda and how it works. Okay? Just on that level. Now, of course, the propaganda has to come that the United States is winning and they're projecting strength and they demand total surrender and we've accomplished our mission. They've done none the like, none the sort. Right? They are scrambling and they are reeling, as we're going to continue to learn in class. Okay. So the thing is, propaganda reaches inside the learned of the community. I'm going to read a post. I want to talk about we have a first official hater, guy. We got a first official hater of the news class, man. So I got to read this. All right. Gotta just laugh at it, man. So I have I think I might have unfollowed him at this point, but this is not the actual hater of the class, but I'll get to that. So the guy that made this post that was influenced by propaganda is named Zion Rise Up. I'm going to say names this time. I've not said the name the last few classes, but I'm going to say names this time because it's just consistent. It's just consistent ignorance and disrespect. So I'm going to say the name this time. So the names this time. Zion Rise Up. He posts, to the false prophets of Israel, what's going on? I thought Russia was going to join the war and take down America with Iran, not offer America money and beg for mercy. So did you hear the text? Did you hear? So what he's saying is, there has been brothers who have said Russia is going to join the war and help Iran, right? Russia is helping Iran economically, right now, and militarily by giving them information on the location of the United States and its allies' vessels. They're also giving them munition. They're also giving them medical aid through Azerbaijan. I can't say this country's name right now. Azerbaijan, right? Through Azerbaijan. Look that up. Look up Russia gives aid to Iran through Azerbaijan. Okay? So this fool is saying, oh, I thought that they were going to jump in. Number one, that's not what people were saying. That's not whatever I was saying, right? It says, and this part right here wasn't shade to us or me. I just want to say that I will get to the shade that was directly to us. And you guys will agree that it was shade to us. But this isn't it, though. Right? It says, not offer America money or beg for mercy. So this is the post, right? So the post that's the caption. The actual post is there's just this picture. Just you know how you can just put together an AI picture like a thumbnail, like we need to start doing for our classes. You know how you can
Right.
do that. So it's like a thumbnail like that of Putin looking like nervous or like down, Trump smiling like this, and then the former Ayatollah who was killed in a strike recently of Iran, like looking crazy. And it says breaking. Russia has just offered the United States $12 trillion in deals in exchange to drop sanctions. This is huge. So this is not true. Number one, this is propaganda, right? So then that's when he's saying, "Look, you false prophets, look what happened." But it's like that didn't happen though. It's that's not what's going on right now. We're going to talk about specifically these sanctions being dropped and who's it benefiting, right? And if it's Russia begging, like this post is suggesting. Oh, look, Russia is begging. They're not helping Iran. So the understanding is Russia's begging the US and not helping Iran. That's the understanding that we should get from this post. Do y'all agree with that so far? I want to make sure I'm
Absolutely.
not inferring anything or enforcing my understanding. Did y'all understand that out of this post in the
Yeah,
caption?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just want to establish that. So that is what was said. Now this is where the guy, there's a couple of rebuttals, but then the same guy he says the point is the Iranian regime is over. One of Russia's most powerful allies. This was no secret that America would take down the Ayatollahs. Okay, that's another thing that's incorrect in propaganda. The Iranian regime is far from over. In fact, it's stronger now. They replaced the dad, the guy that they killed, they replaced with his son, who they said is worse as far as him being harsh. So they replaced him with his son.
Right.
That didn't work out. So him saying that the regime is over and that's propaganda that you got fed by the United States and Trump, and you're wrong about that. Number one, it's not true. Reading on, it says, go back and watch the news feeds from a few months ago when Trump was all over the Middle East meeting with Arab leaders. Then he met with Russia. It's called the art of the deal. So I blame the so called leadership within Israel only push one part of the prophecy. Well, there's um, so much propaganda and ridiculousness to unpack there. I don't want to waste too much time on it. But him meeting all over the Middle East was meeting with the dragons of Arabia. He wasn't meeting with Iran and its proxy groups, which is the problem. He then struck Iran and did not consult those allies he met in the Middle East, those Arab leaders. It says, then he met with Russia. No, he didn't meet with Russia at all. He's calling Russia, begging them to make a ceasefire with Iran at this point in time. Vladimir Putin isn't calling him like, hey, bro, can you lift the sanctions? We've covered this in classes multiple times that there has been a shift economically speaking. Russia is not begging to sit at the seat, to sit at the table anymore. They have created their own table, BRICS, right? They've created their own economy that rivals that. We've talked about how their GDP was going to overtake the United States GDP, as it were, 2 years ago by 2030. Vladimir Putin is not calling Donald Trump, begging him to lift sanctions and saying, hey, bro, we got this deal. We'll give you $12 trillion in deals. That's propaganda. That didn't happen. But this guy thought that he knew something. This guy thought that he had something on brothers who do this work day to day, who labor, who actually know geopolitics. I can't wait to get to this part. I got to get to the hater part. who actually do understand geopolitics and how they work in the structure of biblical prophecy. Okay, let me continue now to the hating part. This was the hating part. This was the shade, the hate, all of that. Let me go back here. Have it in my notes. Bear with me. So Eliel Yasharal. All right, Eliel Yasharal, he's been talking spicy about certain things that I've said prophetically and in class specifically. But I haven't mentioned his name as of yet. This is the third or fourth time Eliel Yasharal says, I mentioned this on my class last night. None of these niggas know what's going on. Every nigga with a quote unquote news show in Israel or a news channel or page is never capital, never right. They don't know SHIT about geopolitics. Now, there's no way to hide that that is direct shade. We're the only ones that have an, unless I'm mistaken. Do y'all know anybody else that have a news class?
No.
All right.
No.
I think WFI.
Yeah, I mean,
Every once in a
know,
while. I
no,
don't think
I'm
it's consistent like this one, but every once in a while.
right. But I want to name them. So we have brothers that do the work in this space. Might not be as consistent as us, but the brother Ariala, right, from House of Bread, he does a class. The brothers from WFI, they do a class, but they don't call it a news class. They might call it current events. All right. And us, we do a news class. But notice it was every nigga with a news class. So I had to comment. I did comment in response because it was obvious shade and he had said some things before. This is not the first time, right? So that's why we're just gonna name it right now. And I did comment in response. But I'll read the response in general. I said, I have a news channel and I know much more about geopolitics than you. This is a claim. And the reason why I said I know much more about geopolitics than him, because it is obvious in his answer that I do. If you're on this post agreeing with the post, because that's what it means. When you says I mentioned this on my news class, that means that you are on the side of believing what you read in the caption. Does it not mean that?
Right.
Because I don't want it to be said like, well, you don't even know that I was saying that I agree with the post. Yes, you are. You agree with the post. That's how come you're commenting on the post, on that post with that caption, in agreement with what it says. See, they don't know. See, they don't know that Russia is working. I think I saw him say this to her. I don't know that for sure. I think I saw him say Russia is working with America. How, Sway? How? How are we this lost? It's 2026. It's 2026. We've been talking about we've been going class after class. Putin repeatedly saying the economic world system must change, but the US, they can come sit at the table and negotiate with us. We've talked about that countless times. How do you even think that? How do you fall for it? But a lot of people fall for it. A lot of people think that the United States is in control and is projecting power, and the other nations aren't as strong. You guys have been deceived. You have been greatly deceived. So I did want to just make sure that I cleanly called that out this time and that we now break down the truth of the information. Right? The truth about this conversation is that the US is calling Russia to negotiate a ceasefire, and they will do it on condition of lifted sanctions. That's what's actually happening. What's happening is the United States realized it has bit off more than it can chew. It is not Venezuela that they just hit. They hit a country that has been preparing a long time for this, and that it is not over quickly. Their regime has not been toppled. Their infrastructure remains intact militarily. They're saying we wiped out their military. They don't have any weapons left, but they're still hitting your allies and piercing your defense systems every day now, right? But they don't have any more. What? This is what is actually happening. Okay? So it's very important that we understand the propaganda. So they're calling Russia, and Russia is saying, okay, we don't have to negotiate this thing at all. The reason why Russia doesn't have to negotiate is because Russia is making $150 million a day that the Strait of Hormuz is shut down. You see, the shutting of the Strait of the Hormuz that we talked about a long time ago, right? That has been on maybe what third, fourth day, right? That is the reason why the gas prices are going up. The closing or the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran, right? It helps them and their allies. Russia, China, the people that we talked about having sanctions against them and their oil. Remember when we talked about the Nord Stream pipeline being blown up and things like that, right? America did that to try to disrupt the flow of Russia's rising economy because the sanctions aren't working and weren't deterring Russia at all. The sanctions were to deter Russia from helping Ukraine or fighting against Ukraine. That's what they were for. Hey, you're fighting Ukraine. Remember, the United States is spending all those billions of dollars on Ukraine, right? So the money that we spent as taxpayers to assist Ukraine are null and void. Now we're paying Russia to help stop the ceasefire to open the Strait of Hormuz. So what they're doing now is they're taking that $150 million that they're making every day from their sanctioned oil, right? And they'll say, okay, well, we don't have to help because we're making money right now. But if you do lift the sanctions, right, we'll negotiate a ceasefire. And guess what? You won't lose out on $12 trillion. That's how much money the United States is losing consistently over time. All right. Having these sanctions on Russia. The sanctions are hurting the United States, people. Like the Post is like, no, they're trying to get the sanctions lifted. Like that means you think that the sanctions are hurting Russia. The guy is lost geopolitically. Both of them, all of them that commented in favor or like that post, they're all in error. Great error. They don't know. They have demonstrated they don't know what's going on. If you think that the sanctions hurt Russia's economy in the slightest, you don't know what is going on. No, the only debt that Russia now has, they have I think they have 300 billion with the B dollars in technical debt because they're spending more on their special military operations in Ukraine. That's the only debt that they have. They don't have 38. You think Russia cares about sanctions and the US has 38 trillion with the T dollars in debt, an insurmountable debt that can never be paid back. This war alone might help Russia pay back any debt that it had. So Russia is eating off of the situation right now. And you think that they're calling the US to beg for sanctions to be lifted? No, it's the art of the deal, he said. Listen, if you think Trump, this is the same guy that filed for bankruptcy 4 or 5 times. He got handed a fortune and filed for bankruptcy all these times. He's not a good businessman. He's a good comedian and an entertainer on TV who's given a lot of assets. You think he knows about deal making? But these are the people that I have to deal with. They won't just come to the class and sit down and take some notes like they should. They got to have a vain opinion based off of propaganda. Very frustrating. I have to kind of learn to scroll past those things. But sometimes it's important because if they are thinking this way, and again, that guy is a leader of people. He leads people and people listen to him. He's way off about this, way off. You think if the United States is in any kind of control or position of a power or authority in this matter, you're way, way off base, way out of touch with what's going on in geopolitics. And then accusing other brothers of being out of touch with geopolitics when you just demonstrated by commenting on that post that it is actually you that are out of touch with geopolitics. So I would just be remiss if I did not thoroughly make that clear.
Salakia, brother.
So go ahead.
No, it's actually quite funny, and I remember having this conversation about 10 years ago. I think this was like my senior year in high school, and we had I was in I forget the old dude's name. You probably know. He had the history class downstairs at Copley, but we were talking about we were kind of talking about the economy and BRICS and all of that stuff. And he asked a question on, America and Russia. And he was like, who here, knows if, basically about the United States still being a superpower. I raised my hand. And so he was like, do you think Russia is a superpower, or is Russia like still in that bracket? I was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, what do you think about the military? I'm like, well, I don't necessarily think that America would just beat Russia in an all-out fight. I just don't think that. And this is 10 years ago. I kind of already like, just by how things were going on, we did watch some videos, but I never thought that the United States would beat Russia or China in an all-out war. Like, no, they're not. Like, bottom line is the U.S. is not the only big dog on the playing field. And that's funny, like I said, like I heard this 10 years ago, which is why this is kind of surprising that we're even kind of having this conversation. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Yeah, exactly. That's well said. And around that time, they had done simulations and war games, and they knew at that point, okay, we can't beat two superpowers. We might can beat one of them, but we can't beat two of them. And what I was understanding back then was that the United States was going to spread itself too thin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they were going to be destroyed. And I thought that before I knew the Bible and prophecy, but that's just something that you could see brewing
right
back then. If you were
Quick question:
attention.
Isn't that how Rome fell?
Exactly. Yep, that's how Rome fell. And this is why you can see comparisons to modern day or to ancient Rome in America. That's exactly how they fell. They spread themselves too thin. They tried to take over too many places, and then their economy began to collapse. Their money began to collapse, and then they started to have problems like civilly and infrastructures the same way. If you go back and read the history of how Rome fell, it's the exact same way. So yeah, that was a good point there, Eli. All right. So now that we got that out the way, we have to understand the way that you aren't deceived by propaganda is to deal with a conglomerate of sources and the Bible. Okay. So if you're not like a super Bible head and you can go into the prophecies and understand, what you want to do is you want to listen to alternative news outlets. The outlets that we're going to go through in this class tonight, you'll see we got one from France, we got one from India, right? We have alternative outlets, meaning they aren't owned by larger corporations. You have to find them because they are the ones that are interested in the truth. They're not interested in nice, cool salaries. They actually go and chase truth, right? They report just ethically differently. They don't have somebody to answer to say, okay, no, you can't run this or you can't run that. So you're going to see a lot of our sources are alternative news. And alternative doesn't mean like not credible. Because then the propaganda, what you guys have to understand is the propaganda is what? The alternative news isn't credible. That's what they say next. It's conspiracy theory, right? That's how they knocked Alex Jones. You mean the conspiracy theory? No, 90% of what Alex Jones says is accurate, right? But he's eccentric. They got him on a couple of weird clips. So then it's just like, oh, he's the crazy guy that says Sandy Hook wasn't real, right? That's propaganda. They railroaded him. No, he didn't say Sandy Hook wasn't real. He said that there was paid actors at Sandy Hook. He didn't say that the children didn't actually die. He said that there were actors at Sandy Hook, the same people that we've seen, it's documented that we've seen at other mass shootings. We've seen the same people come and say, oh, it was crazy, and just witnesses. That's what he pointed out. And he did so with great proof. But then the propaganda came. So now he's deemed this fake hoax Sandy Hook guy. But like 90% of his 90 to 95, I would even venture to say, of his predictions and his research have been found to be true. Right? For example. So this is what they do to alternative media outlets. They demonize it. When in fact, they're the only ones with the actual truth. So that's how the truth remains hidden. So number one, you need to have alternative media outlets, right? TikTok is actually really good as well. I saw a sister say that, right? TikTok, that media, because it's just live. People are going out there with their phones and they're just posting what they see. That's the kind of media that you want to find. You don't want to be relying on information that CNN, Fox, and them put out concerning narratives. That doesn't mean that everything that they say is a lie or everything that they say is false. Everything that they're saying is based on some kind of truth, but it's a manipulation of the truth. Let me read propaganda one more time, and then we'll get into our clips. Okay, so propaganda properly is the deliberate, systematic dissemination of biased information. Rumors, that's what that was. That post that brother Zion Rise Up made, that Eliel Yasharal then co-signed via his comments, was a false rumor. It was dissemination of false rumor for the purpose of making America appear strong in negotiations. When the fact is, they are the ones begging Russia to create a ceasefire that Iran is rejecting. That's the truth of the negotiating situation. And the tariffs being listed. Okay, you want us to talk to Iran? You want us to do something for you? Of course you have to lift the sanctions. So it wasn't like, hey, we request lifting the sanctions and we'll give you 12 trillion. No, it's if you want us to talk to you, then you have to lift the sanctions. That's what it was. But you see how America kind of twists it and makes it something else? You see the difference? The topic is sanctions. The topic is a potential of revenue that the United States could gain if they lifted all the sanctions. But it is not from a position of the Russian Federation needs the United States. It's the exact opposite. But they have to portray to its people and its pundits that they are the ones in charge. And then this brother went and spewed that and then got 15 likes. So other people think that that's true. And then this brother, who was supposed to be the leader of men and other women, gets on there and co-signs the inaccuracy and then says he said in his class that the brothers that give the accurate information don't know what they're talking about. It's just ridiculous out here these days, right? It's just absolute craziness out there. And this is where all the confusion comes from. Now people think that, well, the brothers that say things on the news class, they're not right because they don't take geopolitics in mind. This class is like 60 to 70% geopolitics. So that's pretty much all we do here is talk about geopolitics, right? I don't want to belabor the point. I could go deeper into why you don't really know geopolitics. Even though you probably went to school and got a degree from it, you learned geopolitics from a Western political perspective. You don't know anything about Eastern politics at all or how it works. And the evidence, again, is you commenting on that post. Now I'm going to move. Let's play the next video. This is the truth about what's going on, by the way. The next video, I do want to give the name of the source before we play it. I'm going to say that because we're not on the Clubhouse anymore. I'm doing the news channel, so I do want to give the sources on camera. So the source we're about to listen to now is at Global Watch HQ. To me, this is the best source for minute to day-to-day updates of the Iran-US war. All right, and specifically the US wars that are being waged in the Earth period. This is the number one alternative media source on that information. This lady, she is on it, and she's very well spoken. She has her facts straight, she has her information straight, and she completely exposes the propaganda all the time. So her channel is growing rapidly. Right, she's getting millions of views on these breakdowns of the situation. So this first source is the main source that I'll probably be using from here on in to talk about, the development of the situation. So let's go ahead and play this.
1 second. Is this the banking giants?
Oh, my bad. Skip that one.
Okay.
I was talking so long, I
You
forgot to
good? I
play that one.
figured we
So
was on the. I got you.
yeah. So if you could play that
Phone call. Before Trump declared quasi-victory on CBS, he spoke with Vladimir Putin. And what happened next should alarm everyone paying attention. Putin, according to the Kremlin readout, which the Trump administration did not dispute, shared his proposal for how to end the war quickly. Putin was very quick to announce publicly that Donald called him and that the two of them would be working together to figure out a solution.
Stop right there. You see that? Donald called him, and the two of them are going to work out a solution. It's not the other way, like, hey, can you let up off the sanctions? No, that's not what's going on. He called Donald because guess what? They thought that Iran was going to capitulate and surrender like Venezuela. And Iran's like, you got another thing coming. And then they didn't take into consideration because of their pride. This is where their pride is causing them to lose money. They're bleeding money. You didn't calculate that Iran could shut down the Strait of Hormuz. You didn't calculate that and what that would do to the global economy. They didn't take that into consideration. So now they're on the phone trying to get a ceasefire. Right? And Iran's like, no, we're good. Who do you think's winning now? Who's winning? Right? Go ahead and keep playing.
Called him, and that the two of them would be working together to figure out a solution. Process that. The president of the United States, in the middle of a war, called the leader of a country that has been the single greatest beneficiary of that war. Surging oil prices created a financial windfall for Russia, especially after the Trump administration had already dropped critical sanctions, allowing Russia to sell oil freely.
Stop right there.
After this phone call.
You see that? Russia is winning. It says, look, first of all, the United States already opened up sanctions. Donald did that on his own. Putin didn't have to call and ask him to do that. They already opened up or released some of the sanctions without no conversation. Now Russia is making money hand over fist, as I said before. 150 million per day. She just brought that out. She didn't say that number, but she said it's a windfall. And I'm just giving you an exact number. 150 million a day. They're making. America is spending $1 billion a day. Who's winning? What are we talking about right now? Go ahead and keep playing.
Reports emerge that the administration is considering removing even more sanctions, allowing Russia to sell even more oil to even more markets. Russia did not fire a single shot in this conflict. It did not need to. It is winning by watching.
Stop. Russia did not fire a single shot in this conflict. They're winning by watching, guys. People who think that the United States is in control and Russia is calling the United States begging for mercy. Lift the sanctions and we'll give you $12 trillion in deals. Come on. Stop. They don't have to do nothing with the United States. They are winning by simply watching the United States implode. Go ahead and keep playing.
That was it on that.
Okay, that was it on that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I chose that one just to bring out the reality of that call. Now the other clip that we skipped was just to show propaganda throughout history, right, during war. This is how the Rothschilds, right, one of the families who most people believe are behind the United States and Israel, the way that they got their money, right, their wealth was through propaganda, right? So it is something that we have to be aware of, that we can all be deceived of, because it comes from a wicked root who then disseminates that information through the various means that we process information, through newspapers, televisions, internet, social media, things like that. Right? So I want us to beware of propaganda. Long story short, don't ever be so confident in thinking that you know what's going on without doing proper research, right? Without doing a lot of research and sourcing your information through multiple sources. All the sources that I present to you in this class, I have vetted them with 2 or 3 other sources. So that means the sources that you hear, I actually have 2 to 3 times as many sources that I could play in this clip, like play in the class to verify each source, right? So I always have a conglomerate of evidence to support what it is I'm presenting as far as news is concerned. So that's how I know I'm not giving you bad information. Because you can say, well, okay, Brother Dom, how do you know that you're not giving us propaganda and you're not being influenced? Because I'm drawing from the entire planet in the Bible. That's how, right? We're not just going off CNN and then posting AI made thumbnails. Right? Also, the sister said she can make us a thumbnail. We're going to hold you to that. We're going to hold you to the thumbnails, sis. All right, because we definitely need them going forward. Right, all praises. So now let's go to the next video. So I want to just make this clear. The United States and its allies are suffering losses, billions of dollars every day. And then Russia / Iran and its allies are making money off of this conflict every day. That's the reality. Okay. So now let's go to the next one. This one is called The Young Turks, at The Young Turks. So it's another independent media outlet, rising outlet. They get about 1 million views and things like that as well. Got a lot of subscribers. A lot of truth telling and revelation on that channel. So definitely one that I utilize on certain topics. Let's go ahead and play this.
Over the weekend, Senator Lindsey Graham called on other countries in the Middle East to join the war against Iran. Take a look. Are you telling us you want the United Arab Emirates and the Saudis to lash out and strike Iran right now? I want them to get in the fight.
You want them to get in the fight?
Sell them weapons. Iran is striking their country. They have good capability. About the Strait of Hormuz, what if the regime fell? Then you never had anybody in Iran in the future that wants to close the strait. What if you had Iran with people who don't want to build a nuclear weapon to kill us all? Our own intelligence indicates that the Iranian regime is nowhere close to falling, but nonetheless, Khalaf Ahmad al-Habtoor, a billionaire from the UAE, wrote a fiery response to Senator Graham. The following was translated from Arabic by Grok.
So this is the point. This is the prophecy unfolding. This is why we do the news class. So the prophecy is that those countries that she just named. So you think so you want Saudi Arabia and the UAE to to strike Iran? Did y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember what we're saying. They're going to strike Iran. They're going to eventually. That's what this war leads to, right? And now you're seeing it unfold. So you're saying that they should, yeah, we got to get them to get in the fight. We supply them weapons. They got good capabilities. They need to get in the fight, and they need to fight Iran just as much as we do. What if we didn't have? And then he starts to paint this picture of a region without Iran's terror. I think we have in clips and coming up in this class, Iran has not terrorized anyone in the region for 100 years. It has attacked no country. For 100 years, it has attacked no country. I have to make sure that you guys understand. So when he says things like, and these guys, you're fear mongering. That's one of the definitions of propaganda. That's what was in propaganda, right? You're fear mongering and saying, "Oh, the boogeyman." No, they haven't attacked anybody in 100 years. They're not trying to build missiles to destroy anybody. They haven't showed any signs of that. That's propaganda made up by the United States, and it will be the same propaganda utilized to justify more and more bodies returning. We already at 7 or 8 bodies. So when it goes into the 20s and the 30s and the hundreds, oh, we had to stop Iran. They were the big boogeyman. They were going to attack us. They were, remember those weapons of mass destruction in Iran? Are y'all old enough to remember that? The weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that never were?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
President Bush.
Y'all remember that, right?
Them the
It's
ones.
just this.
My bad. Those are the ones that they said Obama went and took out all the missiles and stuff from. Was it Iran?
No. This was Bush. These were the
Okay.
Bush years where they went into Iraq and got Saddam Hussein, who the
I remember
country
that.
loved, right?
Mhm.
You remember Saddam Hussein, right? So
Absolutely.
that was the pretext whereby they go into Iraq to say, you guys have weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. I didn't even know what that term was before the war started, right? WMDs, and they never found not one weapon of mass destruction in Iraq. Never happened. But we were there. And when I say we, the United States was there for 20 years, right? It's the same thing again. What they went in there to do was to capture oil and to capture opium. That's how come you had the opioid epidemic after that. That comes from them going over there to Iraq, getting all of that from the poppy fields, and then bringing it back here. They're the biggest drug dealers in history, right? To generate revenue. That's well documented. It's not a conspiracy anymore. All right. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. Okay. So Lindsey Graham is calling for the dragons of Arabia to assemble and attack. Right now, you're going to hear in the rest of the clip, they're not on that kind of time. But biblically speaking, what I'm teaching you all is that it gets to that point in time, right? This is why we do the class to say, hey, see, watch it unfold. Go ahead and keep playing.
Fiery response to Senator Graham. The following was translated from Arabic by Grok, so God help us here. Okay, hopefully it's correct. But here's what he said. We know full well why we are under attack, and we also know who dragged the entire region into this dangerous escalation without consulting those he calls his allies. Senator Graham, you may be a senator from the United States Senate, but anyone who hears your statements might think you're a member of the Israeli Knesset because you defend Israel's interests more than you defend the interests of the American people themselves. That's exactly right.
This is what it looks like when the prophecy says, America, your nakedness shall be seen, right? Uncover the locks, make bare the leg, right? In Isaiah 47 that we just read. Pass over the rivers, your nakedness shall be seen. You heard that? This was the response that you heard read. You heard that read from a billionaire in the UAE. So he's saying, hey, we're not trying to get dragged into your war. He's using common sense. But remember, the prophecy says the dragons are going to remember their birth. And we talked about the significance of that being spiritual to Satan. They are all connected through the economy and the well-being of the United States. So you're going to see Lindsey Graham and that pressure ramping up. Hey, you guys need to get together and topple Iran. You guys need to get together. And that's how the war spreads and gets bigger. Okay. That's how it develops into Second Esdras, the 15th chapter, and what we just read. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. I just want to make sure y'all follow. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue. Do we have any more time on that?
Yeah, we got about another 32 seconds or so.
Okay. Let's play.
We will not enter this war to serve the interests of others, nor will we sacrifice our sons in a conflict that could have been avoided through diplomacy and
Stop
political
right there.
solutions.
He says, we will not sacrifice our sons for the interest of others. And that is why, for right now, all of these countries aren't going to start attacking Iran yet, because they understand it's not in their interest yet. But it will be in their interest when Iran keeps bombing their infrastructure. It's going to pretty much force their hand. So now America's saying, see, they're hitting y'all hard now. We're all right over here in America. You guys is getting hit. We gave you weapons. You guys got to get into the fight. Then that's when it will shift. So right now they're speaking with good sense, but they don't understand, biblically speaking, you're going to have to sacrifice your sons. That's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to die, right? Because you're in bed with America. So I hope that billionaire actually gets out of his country and goes somewhere else, because he will have to make the sacrifice. His son will have to go to the battle. Right. So right now, that's the mentality, and it should be. But as this war wages on, because Iran has vowed it will wage on, then you're going to see these countries start to go back at Iran. Let's go ahead and finish that out.
And, leaders in our country who thought in a similar way, but unfortunately we don't. We have policymakers and an executive branch that's fully captured by the Israeli government and will do the Israeli government's bidding. So we find ourselves in this disastrous situation on behalf of a foreign country.
First of all, I want to quote one of our members.
So this is why I wanted to play that, so that we understand on the world stage, in America and outside America, everyone is recognizing America as the bad guy, America as the wicked, America as being controlled by a foreign entity and a foreign power who's controlled by certain families. This is starting to become common knowledge outside of the United States and inside of the United States by those who have half a brain, by those who don't sit in front of Netflix all day, by those who don't concern themselves with Cardi B all day and her drama with Offset and Stefan Diggs, who don't sit and scroll on their social media taking pictures at they are the people that are deceived by propaganda. Okay, everybody else who's actually paying attention a little bit will see things don't make sense here. We'll see that your government lies to you now within 48 hours, contradicts themselves. At first, at least in Iraq, it was like it took them like 6 to 8 months to contradict themselves. But by that point, everyone was emotionally invested. This war, they are lying to you. They're turning around and saying something else damn near the same day. The war secretary is saying, we're just getting started with war. And Trump is saying it's over with. We're about done. You heard that, Eli?
Yeah, I have. And then he turned around when somebody asked him, and he said, "Oh, it's both."
It's both of them. It's all of it at the same time. We kind of done, but we actually just get warmed up. right? And the reason why you have to say that is so that the markets rally. So people are they're lying to your face now within the same day, and it's being called out. All right, so this is the decline. This is America losing its control, losing its grip, right? Not being the only big shot at the table, as the brother Aaron just said earlier in class. Right? So this is all going to escalate because of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. We talked about this in the class before, about a year ago. We talked about how the Houthis at a certain point were being pirates and attacking US ships and different vessels coming through there. 80% of the world's oil flow, right, of the world's oil flow goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. 80% of the world's oil flow go through the Strait of Hormuz. This has been shut down by Iran, okay, via their military. So they're saying any vessel that isn't our allies is not safe to go through there. So everything has stopped. Insurance companies have stopped insuring the boats because they don't want to take losses, which means oil is not traveling anywhere, which means everywhere prices are about to skyrocket. Anything that does get through is going to be taxed unbelievably high because you're risking your life, literally your life, to go through it. People just aren't doing it. It's like, hey, this is not a safe thing to do. So that means oil prices skyrocket for the other side, but not for Iran and its allies. This right there is enough to cripple economies to the point where the dragons of Arabia gotta go to war. We have to go to war because you're squeezing our economy, right? You're paralyzing our economy right now. Mm-hmm. Our citizens are going hungry. This is the ripple effect. But Iran's position is, hey, if you want us to stop, kick out the United States, kick them out of your lands. Don't let them have military bases there. They're not going to do that though, because they're tied to the American dollar. So you see the conflict there. That's the gridlock. That's the deadlock. That's the point of no return. That's the point of impasse. That's how come negotiations can't work. There will be no negotiations because of where each other is at. Iran has now made their own hard red lines on how this can be a ceasefire, right? And we'll get to that later in class as well. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Right? We have to make sure that we do our part to get the information out there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right, let's go to the next clip. This is at Dropsite. All right, so this source is at Dropsite.
Donald Trump has claimed that Iranian officials through back channels have tried to restart talks with the United States or negotiate. I've spoken with other Iranian officials who say that this is not true and that, in fact, third parties have come to Iran and suggested that maybe the United States wants to talk. What is the current position of your government on resuming any sort of negotiations with the United States? Have you reached out through intermediaries to ask to resume talks? Do you think any Iranian with common sense would be really in a position to reach out to the United States under these circumstances? We were negotiating.
Stop right there. Stop. So this is the deputy foreign minister of Iran that is responding. And what you guys got to understand is from his position, he can't even believe that the propaganda is this strong. Because like the last week or so, they've been talking about this is United States deception or United States propaganda, making up stories. This time, he responds in a way to suggest that was a ridiculous question. Like, why would you even think that we would reach out to the United States for another sit down and deal when we sat down with them last time, they used the opportunity to strike us.
Right.
Like, That was his response. Like, what Iranian with any common sense would reach out to the United States to do another peace deal when we got struck the last time we were doing a peace deal? That was his answer. So I want you to know that Iran is now being candid about its response to dealing with the United States. Let's go ahead and keep playing.
States. In just 9 months, in the course of less than 1 year, we were betrayed. Diplomacy was betrayed. We were negotiating with the US negotiators. In June, we were supposed to meet for the 6th round in Muscat. And just 2 days before that, the United States and Israel attacked Iran. Right
Stop.
now, we
Stop.
negotiated in all good faith, in all
You see that?
seriousness.
He said, look, we were negotiating with them 6 months ago, and then 2 days before the negotiations were supposed to take place, they struck us. Right? And we talked about that strike in the news class. Right? We talked about how they struck inside of another country that they thought was housing the terrorists. So Iran, when they strike other countries, they're just doing what was done to them. They're just retaliating in kind. They're now playing, they're just giving the United States a dose of its own medicine, but they're giving them a lot more of the doses of medicine. Like they attacked 8 countries, other countries. So what we got to understand is the Iranians, they're not deceived anymore. They're not going to be deceived with the, hey, we're going to make a deal. Let's make a deal. Like the dude said, it's the art of the deal making, dude. You don't know what's going on? No, nobody's making deals with America anymore. Those days are over with. Go ahead and keep playing.
For that, the United States and Israel attacked Iran. Right now, we negotiated in all good faith, in all seriousness in Geneva. And please, I refer you to the words of Omani foreign minister. He is a neutral, impartial mediator. He said that we had significant progress. And then he suggested to both delegations that let's talk in Vienna on technical details of a possible deal. And we both agreed.
So he said that he's saying, look, we were really close to a deal, so close that a neutral negotiator said we only needed to negotiate in Vienna after this to talk about the details of the deal. That means the deal was agreed to and they shook hands on a deal. Remember, the deal is, hey, we don't want you to enrich uranium. This is the United States whole thing. You can't have a nuclear bomb, so we can't allow another another entity who has sovereignty in that land for hundreds of years to enrich uranium for whatever purpose it wants to enrich uranium. So we're the boogeyman. We never attack anybody, but we're the boogeyman. Okay, we'll come and negotiate with you. The fact that they were even at the negotiating table is crazy in and of itself. You're negotiating to see if you're allowed to enrich uranium in your own country to better your own land and resources. That's what they were negotiating. So they were already saying, okay, America, we'll negotiate with you. I wouldn't have been negotiating this, right? Who are y'all telling me what I can and can't have in my own country?
Right.
So they're good for even coming to negotiate. Then they had a deal about done. That's how you know Donald Trump is a snake. And all of y'all that think that Donald Trump is this excellent deal maker, no, he's a backstabbing, murderous liar. That's what he is. They had a deal in principle. That's a shake hands deal. Whenever you're just coming down to fill out the details, that's like the ink signing. But before that, you shake hands on something and say, okay, we got this in principle. We just got to work out the details. That's where they were at. And there's a witness. And the guy said there's a neutral witness to that fact if Donald Trump wants to lie. So they were almost had a deal. And then 2 days before they go to pretty much dot the I's and cross the T's, you get the attack, that major attack that we talked about and covered. Snakes. So no, they learned their lesson. We're not doing any more ceasefires. Go ahead and keep playing.
And we both agreed. And again, on 28 February, just 1 day after that the American and Israelis attacked Iran. And look what Rubio said. He said that we entered this war on behalf of Israel. So they contradicted themselves because they first say we had to push against an imminent threat from Iran. That's a big lie. And then Pentagon themselves, they said that there was no imminent threat from Iran. There was no
Stop. So now
intention.
he's even calling out the lies. He's even calling out the contradictions. He said they contradicted themselves, they're lying, because first they said Rubio, Marco Rubio, Senator Rubio, he says, well, the United States entered into the war to defend Israel. But that's not what the president says. He says we're entering in the war because it's an imminent threat, as we'll see in the next clip that we have coming up. He says we were negotiating, and in my opinion, I just know they were going to attack us. Right? A lunatic. But they're contradicting themselves. And then he pointed out the Pentagon said there was no imminent threat. So we got Donald Trump saying there's an imminent threat. We got the Pentagon saying that there's not an imminent threat. And then we got Marco Rubio saying we're not even over there because of the imminent threat. We're over there because of Israel. So which one is it? But a world leader, right? Well, he's somewhat of a world leader, is now on TV exposing these simple truths that most of you Americans do not realize. You don't even realize this. These are simple truths to the rest of the world. You're blinded by propaganda. Go ahead and keep on.
There's an imminent threat from Iran. That's a big lie. And then Pentagon themselves, they said that there was no imminent threat from Iran. There was no intention on the part of Iran to attack the United States. And please go to the history of Iran for the past 100 years. Have we ever attacked any neighboring country? No. We have only defended ourselves. Every responsible state, every responsible government is both entitled and duty bound to defend its citizens.
So Iran, just to get a clear answer, Iran has not in any way reached out to the United States asking for a resumption of talks since the bombing.
And then stop right there. Then the idiot asked again. They're gonna stop liking to. They're not gonna see. This is an incompetent reporter. Just so to get a clear answer. That answer wasn't clear. No, you idiot. No, nobody's reached out to the United States for a ceasefire deal. No. How come you did? Did y'all understand that was his answer?
Yeah, most
For the most
definitely.
part, yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm not tripping. I heard a definite no, but then he's just to be clear, just so we can get a clear answer. Go ahead and play it.
Its citizens.
Iran, just to get a clear answer, Iran has not in any way reached out to the United States asking for a resumption of talks since the bombing began.
As I said, right now, we are 100% focused on defending our people, defending our sovereignty, defending our national territory against this egregious act of aggression.
Right. Nobody's reached out. Nobody's going to reach out. Another foreign minister says no ceasefire. Okay. So I want to give us an update on the next video, right? I want to give us an update on what's going on in the Gulf countries. The Gulf countries, okay, the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, okay, for example. These are the countries that are aligned with the United States. These are the dragons of Arabia in 2nd Ezra 15. The nations of the dragons and the Arabs, if you're reading the New King James Bible. Okay? They are dealing with strikes. And now they are trying to decide if and when they're going to respond to Iran. Okay, let's go ahead and play this. Actually, let me say the source first. This is at France 24. So now we have a French outlet. Just want to show you guys the different sources that are being utilized. at France 24. Go ahead and play that.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry.
we
1 second. This isn't that clip. So I cited the wrong clip. So this isn't that one. This is a different clip. This is Bloomberg. Okay. The last clip, the last source, I didn't name that one, I'm sorry, is Drop Site. So when we heard the Iranian foreign minister speak, that was at Drop Site. All right, that was that source. And then this source that we're currently listening to is about the proof of Trump's deceit in the deal. Okay, so I kind of skipped ahead. So what we're listening to now is proof that Trump did lie and deceive in negotiations. All right. So let's go ahead and play that.
negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the
If
way
you
the
can go back to the
negotiations
beginning.
having negotiation, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to
Stop
attack.
right there.
We didn't do it.
You should know that's propaganda. A part of the definition of propaganda when it go into that name calling stuff, right? We were negotiating with these lunatics, and then what you hear what he said? It was my opinion that they were going to strike first. That's a, you see what I'm saying? It was so Iran struck. They got struck because Trump thought it was his opinion. Right? He got this great epiphany. Iran is about to strike us. They're about to strike us. We gotta get them. So they're about to strike you as they're negotiating a deal with you and about to finish the deal with you. They're about to strike you. This is what he's saying. And American media and those who hear it, you're eating this up. We were negotiating with these lunatics. He's saying the word lunatics as if to discredit them, saying the negotiations weren't going well, they weren't reasonable. That's why he uses the word lunatic. That's propaganda. No, they weren't lunatics. First of all, they're not even supposed to be sitting there negotiating with you. You're telling them what they can and can't make in their own country. It's already not a negotiation, really. But I digress. No, they were reasonable, and y'all were about to shake hands on a deal. They're not lunatics. So he's using that verbiage to get people to think, oh, see, these guys were unreasonable. Trump was trying to work with them, but they were over there about to attack us. No, they weren't. That's a lie. That's propaganda. That's the manipulation of truth. So the truth was, yes, there was negotiations. Both sides say that. But the lie is America is saying, see, they weren't trying to negotiate. They were about to attack us, so we had to attack them. When the truth is, no, we had a deal done, and then you attacked us. That's what really happened. Okay, let's go ahead and keep playing.
Lunatics. And it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And
you see that? Yeah, Shaq, stop right there. I felt strongly about that. You know, I just really believed in my heart. If we didn't attack them, it was kill or be killed out here, guys. That's how we had to do it. That's what they're going to start saying. So as the bodies start coming back home, and then people are like, "What are we even doing this for?" Because Americans they don't follow this stuff right here that leads up to the bad stuff. They just cry when it hits the fan. They just what are we even doing this for? In the war, my son passed, my daughter, listen. You missed it right here. This right here. And then they're gonna say, yeah, well, they were gonna strike us first, so we're thousands of us are gonna die because this man, his opinion. That's what he said. He says, and he literally says, in my opinion. He didn't get it. We got to talk about how incompetent that is. The commander in chief struck a foreign power because of a hunch in the middle of a negotiation, which the negotiation was nearly complete because of a hunch that he says.
His
This is
own
what is
hunch.
Right.
you see how crazy that is. This is what Obadiah is talking about when he says he's going to destroy understanding out of the mount of Esau, right?
Right.
Out of the wise men, right? Obadiah is talking about the mount or the leaders of Esau in their military. It's not talking about the citizens there. Okay? Just to teach that and reinforce that now. I got to teach that and reinforce it. That's why he uses the mount of Esau. So, yes, it is total destruction for the mount of Esau, not every single Edomite, right? Just thought I'd just teach that really quick. But I digress. That is what is meant when it says, the pride of thy heart have deceived thee, right? And it says that in Jeremiah, and this is the pride. You think you can just wake up and just bomb people indiscriminately because you got a hunch. Like, I thought it was my opinion they were going to attack. First of all, no, they weren't. No, they weren't going to attack. That's not how they move. They don't have a track record of moving that way. Only you do, though, right? You have a long track record of strike first and ask questions later. That's you. That's not them. So you see how that's propaganda. I really just felt that they were going to attack us, and we just had to get it done. They were going to do it. I felt strongly about it. So that's the reason. That's the reason that he's saying. But then, as we just heard the foreign minister say, the Pentagon said that there was no imminent threat. So we know it's a lie. We know it's about you wanting to destabilize, to control more oil in the Middle East. That's what it's about. But it's now backfired on you. Do we have any more of that?
Like 30 seconds.
All right, let's go ahead.
And have done it all their lives, very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. So I think I was right about that. We attacked first. And if we didn't, it could have been, look, we're really decimating them. They're being decimated.
Yeah, it's not right.
If we didn't.
It's like, and if we didn't, he couldn't even bring himself to say, if we didn't what? If we didn't do it, then what? He couldn't even bring himself to say that. He had to continue talking like, and by the way, we're decimating them. We're really and no, you're not. No, you're not. It's just more projection of strength after you realize you put your foot in your mouth and people are going to look like, wait, what? It's because you thought we did. Then he had to say, well, then I really strongly believe that they were going to do it. Then he changed it to like, it wasn't just my opinion. They were going to do it, which also means nobody briefed you. No, you're a commander in chief. You're supposed to get counsel from your generals before you make these kinds of decisions.
Right.
That's how it normally works. No commander informed him, no general informed him that they were going to attack. There was no message like, hey, there's an imminent threat. In fact, there was a message that there was not an imminent threat. The Pentagon said that there was not an imminent threat. So how did you think that there was? The math don't math, right? So when you see these things happening, this is being shown on a world stage. People around the world understand what I'm talking about here, but not a lot of Israelites, apparently. All right. So with that, let's go. I want to read, go to Sirach chapter 3 and 24. Talking about, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about what the Bible says about your opinions.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 3 and verse 24.
Uh-huh.
For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment.
You see that? His judgment has been overthrown through his own vain opinion, literally. He literally made the worst decision possible for his country and his allies. I think we say this in another clip that I have coming up. He didn't even tell his allies in the Gulf that he was going to attack Iran. Don't you think that they might have wanted to know that? You know? Don't you think that they might have wanted to know, hey, you're about to attack my neighbors
Mhm.
who can attack me instantly? You think I might want to know that? Right? Now they cities are on fire, unbeknownst to them. They woke up like, what the hell is going on out here? They woke up to all hell breaking loose. Right? And then, you know, Trump is just at Mar-a-Lago swinging this golf club. Like, yeah, I really feel like they're going to attack. So, yeah, just send the missiles. This is what's going on Earth. And then we sitting up here like in La La Land, you know, talking about Netflix. Okay, sis says she's been emailing. I haven't gotten the email, but I appreciate you for saying that. And I apologize for not getting back to you. And we will figure that out. Okay, we will definitely figure that out. Put that up here. Let's get this figured out. Right, if you could let us know your email. You can put your email here, and then I'll respond to you. If you could put your email here. All right. So with that being said, let's move to the next one. Let's move to the next one. And I won't put your email on the screen either, by the way. You can either email, you know, put it here, or if you don't feel comfortable with it, and we'll try to do it another way. But I will email you back expeditiously.
More than 630 people have been killed in Lebanon, plus more than 800,000 have been displaced. 8 lakh
Stop right
people
there.
have been
This is
displaced.
at France 24. Right. So this media outlet that you're listening to now, this is from a woman who is in Qatar, one of the countries that Iran has bombed in response to the attack on its country. Right. They house America. They are going to be a part of the Dragons of Arabia. Okay. She's in Qatar right now. They've been struck. And now she's talking about, hey, what the mood is like today. This is from like maybe a day or two ago. And she's going on over what the scene is now. Right. She's being asked about what is it looking like, you know, on the ground. Go ahead and play.
More than 630 people have been killed in Lebanon, plus more than 800,000 have been displaced. 8 lakh people have been displaced. Most of these people lived in southern Lebanon. But Israel is now deploying soldiers in this region. They're
Stop right
taking
there.
over
So
Lebanese
it's
land.
important to note, Israel is now, as we talked about before, they're not just operating in Palestine, they're operating in Lebanon. Right? So Lebanon is obviously going to be on the side of Iran. Okay. Okay, Sister Rose said this. I want to put this up here. All right, so Sister Rose, she said she can get you hooked up. So this is what we have to understand. Israel is now attacking multiple countries. They've been doing it, and we've been covering it. Right? It's not just Palestine. This is all, like I said before, in an attempt to control the oil in that region and to build the luxury resort hotels all over the region. They've all got it carved out, right? So they're displacing millions of people. That's their goal, but ultimately the Lord is going to use that to bring us back into the land, displacing everybody. All right, so that's how it's unfolding. So go ahead and keep playing.
And to set up a buffer zone.
The Prime Minister and I instructed the IDF to prepare to expand IDF activity in Lebanon and to restore calm and security to the northern communities. We promise quietness and security to the northern communities, and that is exactly what we will do.
So the Lebanon front is expanding. Still, the primary focus remains on the Iranian regime. Today, Israel hit a military facility in Talegan. It's located around 30 kilometers southeast of Tehran. Israel says this site was being used to make a nuclear weapon and today they blew it up. Meanwhile, the Americans are still taking out more targets. They're hitting Iranian planes, vessels, and missiles.
Was that it on that?
I think it was another 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, I just heard it stop. So
Yeah, it was showing videos of planes being blown up.
okay, got you. Yeah. So yeah, it's basically she's describing the war. She's giving us the update of the war, right? Who's blowing up what? A lot of bombs going off in the region, and then it'll come back in, right? So we can't see that because we don't, we don't have video yet. Well, let's go ahead. Continue.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Roberts. Listen, if they're in the house.
So forgive us for that brief interruption. We got some ads and things like that.
Donald Trump said the war would end soon. He said there are practically no more targets to hit. Well, clearly that's not the case. Iran
Stop right there.
continues to lob
Now,
missiles.
listen, this is again the prophecy. America being exposed, your nakedness being seen. This is an Indian outlet. And they're saying, Donald Trump said they don't have much targets. They're taking out all these targets. And she said, apparently that's not the case. Right? Everybody's seeing America being liars. Right? Everybody's calling it out. It's just obvious at this point. Again, we're talking about 24-hour shifts. Donald Trump said these targets have been taken out, but apparently not, because it's still going. All right, let's go ahead and keep playing.
Meaning they do retain some of their military capabilities. And in the middle of all these attacks and counterattacks, is anyone talking about peace? About talks to end this war? Certainly not the new supreme leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei. He broke his silence earlier today. He did not appear on camera. Instead, his statement was read out by the state media. Mujtaba says only limited vengeance has been extracted from Israel and the US.
Stop right there.
The war will.
She didn't read the whole thing of what he said. He said only limited blood vengeance has been exacted on the US. So I want to make sure that, she didn't read that part in the statement. She kind of left that out for TV, but we're not going to leave that out. The new Ayatollah, who's more strict than his father, said only limited blood vengeance has been carried out on the United States. That means he's far from done with blood vengeance. He's not talking about just simply like the destruction of infrastructure. This man has lost his father, his wife, his children, and his brother to American strikes over this last month. He wants blood vengeance. You think that they're calling for a ceasefire and you just killed this man's whole family? You think there's going to be a ceasefire? You got another thing coming. We don't, like, a lot of Americans don't realize the new guy that's now the leader that you said we can't never have a guy like him. That was the reason why you did what you did. So you wouldn't have this guy. He's worse. You were supposed to take him out, but instead you just killed his whole family. So now, what do you think he's about to do? Right? This is a man who is thirsty for American blood to flow, for Israel blood to flow, and its allies. That is what we're talking about. That's how come it says in verse 30, also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth, because they are pissed at the United States for what it's done and the power that is projected in the region and how it has slaughtered their families and strife. That is why it says they're raging in wrath. That's why this war is going to get out of control, because this is wrath that you're hearing. This Iranian leader, this new guy that came in there, they thought that they had toppled the regime. No, you made it worse, right? And he says I wanted to make sure he said only limited blood vengeance is what the quote actually is, has been exacted, right? Which means he's saying we are just getting warmed up. Go ahead and keep playing.
Vengeance is extracted. He also confirmed that the Strait of Hormuz will remain shut. Basically, it was a message of defiance and anger from the new supreme leader of Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's president detailed the regime's position. That's Masoud Pezeshkian. He has posted a crucial message. He has set 3 terms to end the war. 1, Iran's legitimate rights must be respected. I presume that means their right to enrich uranium and build missiles.
Stop right
Condition
there.
number 2,
He says,
they
look,
want
I'm giving you guys are telling me, you're giving me the conditions to end this war. Now you guys are calling Putin to do a ceasefire deal. No. We'll tell you the conditions to end this war. Now, do you understand who's in control and who's not at this point in time? He's saying, no, we're going to tell you the terms and conditions to stop this. Number 1, that our sovereignty is respected. See, he's not his father. That's what he means. That's what it's meant when it says he's worse than his father, meaning he's not negotiating. That's what I would have been. Remember I said that in a little while ago, I said, I would have never been sitting down at the negotiating table. You're going to tell me what I can produce in my own country for my own people? So this is one of his demands, is we will never be told again that we can't enrich uranium in our country. This is, so everything that Trump says must be done, he's saying not only is that not going to be done, it must be done the opposite way that Trump is saying. Can you see why the escalation must continue? Because they're at an impasse. He's saying we are going to have uranium for this to stop. You're going to let us have the uranium, and we're not negotiating nothing now. And then Trump is saying, you guys can't have the uranium because that's why we're over here. So that's him creating a hard red line. That's him saying we will break you, United States. That's him saying we can beat you in the long run. That's what he believes in his heart. All right, go ahead and keep playing. That's the first demand. Go ahead. Iran's legitimate rights must be respected. I presume that means their right to enrich uranium and build missiles. Right, condition number 2, they want reparations, basically payment for war damages. Stop. And we need reparations. You bombed our school. You killed 175 innocent people, including my family. He said, and we need reparations. Do you know this means he's effectively saying we're going to war with you to the end? That's what it means. Because he's saying the only way this stops is if we can enrich uranium. That's the United States' hard red line. Now he's saying we want reparations. You think the United States is going to give them reparations? You think Donald Trump? Right?
No, we still waiting on our.
Right. We still waiting on our reparations. And he's demanding them. Right? Or we're going to go to war about it. So he's going to war until they can make uranium at their leisure and until they get reparations. So he's saying is y'all can keep causing damage. That'll make the price grow more and more and more. He's resolved to do this. Because what else does he have to lose? You killed the man's entire family. Go ahead and keep playing. Condition number 2, they want reparations, basically payment for war damages. And number 3, guarantees against future aggression. Stop. This is the first time and you have to guarantee us you're going to leave us alone. That is a total, like if the United States, which they're not going to agree to it, if they were to agree to those terms, that would mean total surrender by the United States. We're sorry. You guys can do whatever you want. And here's some money. We saw. They are trying to punk the United States.
Man.
Right? They're going from being the bullied to the bully. Because they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That means oil prices rise every day. I just saw, I don't know if it was true or not because I haven't vetted this, but I did see on social media, apparently Macron of France said that the Strait of Hormuz must be reopened immediately. And to which the supreme leader of Iran says, come and open it. So, again, I don't know how true that is, but If so, that's pretty hilarious. Right.
Let the
Come on.
weak say I am strong, man.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Didn't we do that class? Let the weak say I'm strong, right?
Yes, we did.
We did, man. We did a lot of classes, man, on these topics, and now they're just unfolding, and we're really re-going over them for YouTube, but for other listeners, this is our first time, or their first time hearing this information. So I do appreciate having you brothers here to remind the audience that we've been doing this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Not our first rodeo. Right? So we have one more link I want to show you guys. This is the bottom line. This is from at Global Watch HQ. As I said before, this is the go-to. You want to go to YouTube if you want to keep up with what's going on minute by minute, day by day, with no propaganda, the absolute truth about the reality of this war and where it's heading, then that's where you want to go and subscribe to. At Global Watch HQ. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this on the 8-minute mark.
Black rain is
One
not
second.
for
Hold on.
literal black.
All right.
Now here's the part most people are missing. Well,
Stop
Trump
right.
and Obama
If you
on
could take that back to the beginning, we didn't hear that, the first part.
next piece drops. Now here's the part most people are missing. While Trump and Graham are on American television projecting invincibility, Iran's foreign minister went on Meet the Press this morning and delivered something the White House clearly did not expect: calm, calculated defiance. Most countries, when facing the full weight of American military power, scramble to negotiate. Iran did the opposite. The foreign minister laid out the logic with surgical precision. Last time you attacked us, we accepted a ceasefire. You used that.
This is the last video.
Right. No, I was just saying to the audience,
Oh, okay.
when she's talking about the precision that the foreign minister spoke about, we watched that video. So basically, she's just recapping what we talked about, and she's going to go forward. So that's all I
Okay.
Pause to rearm and attack us again. You bombed our schools, our hospitals, our water supply. So no, we are not accepting another ceasefire. This does not work like that. There should be a permanent end to the war. And until we get that, we will continue fighting for the sake of our people and our security. That is not bluster. That is a negotiating position built on pattern recognition. Iran watched what happened when it showed restraint, and it learned. While Trump tells Americans he is not worried about anything, Iran is telling the world it has made a strategic decision to drag this out, to absorb the punishment and keep firing, to make this war so costly and so prolonged that the pressure shifts back onto Washington. The evidence suggests it is already working. The Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil moves, is effectively shut down. Kuwait's petroleum chief says tanker traffic has dropped to practically zero for the first time in 80 years. Iraqi oil output has plunged 60%. Qatar has shut down liquefied natural gas production. Iran struck Kuwait's social security building. Iran hit Bahrain's desalination plants after the U.S. destroyed theirs. And the UAE, despite senior Israeli officials publicly claiming Abu Dhabi was helping strike Iran, issued a furious denial, calling those Israeli statements damaging to the relationship and insisting the Emiratis are operating in a purely defensive posture.
Stop right there. She just perfectly broke down why there's going to be a battle between the Dragons of Arabia and the Khameneis. Did y'all hear that? Did you hear everything all of this has transpired within the last week? Right, take it back like 30 seconds as she's breaking down this information. I don't want y'all to miss this. Right, break that down again, or play that last 30 seconds again.
To drag this out, to absorb the punishment and keep firing, to make this war so costly and so prolonged that the pressure shifts back onto Washington.
Stop. That's their strategy and belief. No, we know what you're coming with. We're gonna take your punishment. We're gonna take the strikes. You think you're doing something? We're fine. What they're doing is the Ali shuffle right now, and then they come out, and then they just gonna hit Qatar. They're gonna hit Saudi Arabia. We're gonna. This is how we're gonna do, and then it's gonna cost you billions and billions per day, and our allies are still making money. So they're just saying we're just gonna wait it out and make your life and your and your economy so poor that eventually you give up. That's how you go toe to toe with a superpower. And that's the strategy. And it appears to be where, shoot, I know my gas tank need some relief. Right? It's only been a week. Imagine when we get a month or two into this thing. Right?
It's be tragic out here.
Right. So that like it's a good strategy. You know, that's how come it's gonna get so ugly. Go ahead and keep playing.
The Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil moves, is effectively shut down. Kuwait's petroleum chief says tanker traffic has dropped to practically zero for the first time in 80 years. Iraqi oil output has plunged 60%. Qatar has shut down liquefied natural gas production. Iran struck Kuwait's social security building. Iran hit Bahrain's desalination plants.
So Kuwait, they lost their social security. Imagine if that would happen over here. You know how crazy that would be? Kuwait, they social security places destroyed. So you know people gonna be calling trying to get their social security. Ain't no social security. All right. So this is what's happening now in the Middle East. Go ahead and keep playing.
Qatar has shut down liquefied natural gas production. Iran struck Kuwait's social security building. Iran hit Bahrain's desalination plants after the U.S. destroyed theirs. And the UAE, despite senior Israeli officials publicly claiming Abu Dhabi was helping strike Iran, issued a furious denial, calling those Israeli statements damaging to the relationship and insisting the Emiratis are operating in a purely defensive posture. You do not fight a superpower by matching its firepower. You make the war expensive enough that superpower's own people start asking why. So what does this actually mean for you? If you fill up your car, you are about to feel this. If you buy groceries, you are about to feel this. If you have a retirement account, you are about to feel this. Analysts are projecting that food, energy, airlines, transport, and insurance components in both CPI and PPI will get hit hard, potentially pushing headline consumer price inflation above 4% by April or May.
May.
Shutdown alone is enough to send energy markets into sustained chaos. And once supply chains reroute, once companies restructure around new shipping lanes and new energy sources, those changes do not simply reverse because a ceasefire gets signed 6 months later. The economic damage embeds itself. The jobs follow the new routes, and they do not come back on the old ones.
Stop right there. So she's explaining and breaking down, everybody, how the economy is permanently altered. It is never going back the same. That's what she's properly breaking down. No matter what happens, things don't just go back to normal because there's a ceasefire. All right, we're back to the old shipping lanes. Like, no, new relationships are forged. New routes are made. It doesn't even go back. See, Trump wasn't even calculating that at all. Like, it doesn't just go back to normal because you say, oh, we'll guarantee your safe passage through the strait. Come on, guys, stop being scared. That's what he's saying. And they're like, no, dude. We're not risking our lives. Y'all defense systems aren't even stopping anything. They're hitting y'all boats. We don't trust you for that. But he didn't calculate that. Oh, we could just escort them. They don't trust you to escort them. They seen what happened to the last security guard.
All on the boats taking the oil.
All right, ain't nobody going through that straight. So go ahead and keep playing.
The jobs follow the new routes, and they do not come back on the old ones. So where does this go from here? There are 3 realistic paths, and none of them are clean. Scenario 1, a managed off-ramp. Back-channel pressure from Gulf states, European allies, and American business interests forces a genuine ceasefire, not just a pause. Both
So now she's going through the three possible scenarios that can happen out of this. Now remember, we already know the scenario that happens out of this, right? We know the war, we know the book, chapter, and verses now, right, fellas?
Right.
Right. Now I want y'all, she's gonna give three options. Now I want y'all to tell me which option lines up with the Bible when she's done with the three options. So let's play that. Let's start again. Put the phone a little bit back because we got a little static. But let's go through this again because she's gonna tell us which option the Bible told us. All right, this is the heaviest part of class right here. That's why I said this is the best outlet to watch concerning the development of this situation. Go ahead and keep playing.
American business interests forces a genuine ceasefire, not just a pause. Both sides claim victory. Trump calls it the greatest deal ever made. Iran tells its people they stood firm. Hormuz reopens. Markets stabilize. But the structural damage remains. The Gulf states that watched their desalination plants and oil infrastructure burn will never trust this security architecture the same way again. The off-ramp exists, but the road behind it is already scorched. Scenario 2, regional realignment. Other Middle Eastern powers, watching the UAE deny involvement, watching Kuwait's economy collapse, watching Bahrain's water supply get targeted, begin making their own calculations. They start hedging, quietly building deeper ties with China, with India, with anyone not currently bombing their neighbors. A new network forms, not anti-American, exactly, but no longer reflexively aligned with Washington. The United States remains the biggest player in the room, but it is no longer the unquestioned center. The monopoly on strategic loyalty fractures, and once it fractures, it does not reassemble. Scenario 3, full escalation. This is the one nobody wants to name out loud, but Lindsey Graham already did. Ground forces, special operations inside Iran, an attempt at regime change in a nation of 90 million people with hardened military infrastructure and a population that, whatever it thinks of its own government, will not welcome American soldiers. Cuba gets added to the list. The marching through the world doctrine becomes actual operational policy. Allies are forced to pick sides. The global economy fragments. And the war that started as a little glitch becomes the defining catastrophe of a generation. Here's what I know for certain. Whatever happens next.
Which one? We heard it. 3. But did you hear how descriptive it was? And at the end, it was
escalation.
full escalation.
Don't get no better
It's
than
the
that.
third, and that's the one that nobody wants to talk about. You know, except for here at the news, right? Nobody want to talk about the full escalation except for here at the news, and we got a few people listening, right? So she's accurate when she says nobody wants to talk about. No, there's going to be full escalation, and this is going to turn into a war that defines a generation. That's biblically accurate. That's Second Esdras chapter 15, where it says in 37, in short, great fear and trembling shall be on earth, and they that shall see the wrath shall be alarmed and terrified. That's exactly what she just defined. That is the option that we're going to see happen. Those countries that are being hit by Iran, they're going to get enough of it. They're not going to be able to take any more of it. The United States is going to keep urging them, hey, we guys got to link up and all go against them. And then at first they're like going to be reluctant, no, because they know they're just doing the United States bidding, but it's going to start hitting their people and their economy too hard. So they're going to have to respond because Iran's not stopping. Iran's going to say, hey, if you want us to stop. So basically, the demands that you heard Iran say, those demands must be met by the United States for Iran to stop striking their neighbors. You understand? So he's saying, we're going to strike Kuwait, we're going to strike Qatar, we're going to strike Saudi Arabia, right? The UAE, Jordan. We're going to strike all of them until these demands are met by the United States, right? So that's how come it's going to escalate in the region.
I got a question.
Mhm.
Remember how I believe the last class you said that once the sides kind of pick their sides, then um nobody's really gonna end up hating America. Like America's not gonna be isolated by herself. But this kind of would put America on that island by itself. Like if they don't kind of agree to these terms and all of America's allies are being hit, and I don't know. So are are the allies still going to be allies all the way to the end, or
We talked about that, right?
actually, yeah,
So
you
it
did.
does appear that I see what you're saying. So your position is the way that it's looking, and this is why prophecy is called prophecy. He's telling us things that don't seem possible, right? Before they happen. That's how come it's called prophecy, because once you hear it, it's like, well, that's not possible because this is happening right here, right? So what you're saying is, and I understand because it makes sense, it appears as if the pressure is on the United States so much that their allies are going to look at them to capitulate and say, hey, you guys gotta stop this war, right, Eli?
Right, right.
Right, right. And I understand that. It does appear that way. But what the text is inferring is that yes, they do that, but then the United States looks at them and says, "Hey guys, your economy is tied to our economy.
Mm,
Your dollar, you use the petrodollar, right? This is affecting you as much as it is affecting our dollar. You're losing money and your sons and resources. Go to war with them.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
I
So
got you.
they're going to be looking at you know say, help us. All right, we'll help you. We'll give you more money. We'll give you more resources. We'll even give you a few more boots on the ground, right? Because that's the only real alternative. They can't look at the United States and then say, well, we're going to Russia's side. They don't get to do that, right? Because they use the petrodollar.
Yeah.
If they stop using the petrodollar and just say we want to cut ties, then their whole economy plummets because
Mm,
you can't just transfer over money and just do a whole new system without your economy tanking.
Yeah.
So they are looking at the United States like, y'all, please. They're in a position of, please stop, but they're not in a position of, you have to stop or else. Does that make sense?
got you. I got you. I'll tell you what. Just to add to that, that's bad energy for war. It's like going to war because you have to. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
and then the other enemy is like on fire, ready to go to war. Like,
hmm
oh man, yeah, this is not gonna turn out very well.
Right. And that's how come, let me read this. It says, also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. That's that aggression that you are talking about. That's the power that they have. Like they have
Yep.
the will, right? And the energy to fight. It says, and join battle with them and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So that means initially they are going to come out and start beating down on the dragons when they come out to fight because they do got that extra oomph, right?
Mhm.
But then it says, so they are gonna, get the upper hand. They are gonna be winning for some time. There's gonna be some months where it look like they win, right? And they are winning. But that's because they're gonna be fighting the dragons, picking them off one by one. But then it says, and after them shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their birth. So then they're losing, but then they're gonna regroup, right? Pretty much they are going to be empowered by Satan, right? Satan is going to be
Got you.
allowed on a spiritual level, right? Now I want to kind of take this to the spiritual level. Satan is going to be allowed to have them prevail, right? Because it is his time to shine right now. It's not the time for Iran and Russia to overpower Satan's forces. These are also going to be, classified as the nations that come against the Israelites later on down the line, by the way, right? The nations who deal with Satan. So he's going to pretty much, power them up. They're going to come and form an alliance, and then they're going to respond, right? And then they're getting the upper hand. And then, of course, when America's, now we're winning. This has been a long fight, and we've lost a lot of people, and gas is up $1 million, but we're winning now, right? So they'll, there might be a few little months or something like that. I'm just guessing time. I don't know exactly time, but there'll be some time where they do gain the upper hand after getting mollywopped for a little time, and then that's when they'll have to make a retreat, and then you'll start seeing when you start seeing that happen in the strife amongst them, then you're going to start seeing more violent storms and plagues come to destroy America. It'll start over everywhere, though, everywhere.
I got you.
But mainly migrate to America, right? When you have storms and things like that happening, that will stop a war or put it on pause or on hold because everybody's trying to cover for the storms.
Right.
So basically, the text is saying they are going to retreat, but there's not a real winner or loser, right, per se. Because then the Lord comes in with his storms, kind of puts I wouldn't say it's not a stop to it, but it's like a halt to it. Everybody's taking cover, but then it's going to be focused on America, and everybody's going to be like, whoa, look at America kind of getting mollywopped over there. And then all of its allies like, whoa, we're fighting because kind of for America, but America's everybody's going to kind of be looking like, whoa, America's getting wiped out. That means our economy's getting wiped out. And what are we even fighting for? Then it's like we're just looking now. We don't have much to fight about. But then America's enemies is like
looking at chops.
Yeah. And then so forth and so on. Right? Yeah. So hopefully that answered the question.
It did, most definitely.
Yeah. And it's crystal clear. Right now, that's my breakdown. And now we just see if it unfolds that way. It's easy. It's not too difficult. I'm not one of those teachers or prophets that makes it ambiguous and it could be this or it could be that. I tell you A, B, C, D, and E to the best of my ability, and I always make sure that I answer questions like that to make sure that what I'm saying makes sense. So, Lord willing, everyone has a thorough understanding of what I'm teaching concerning this war and who's on what side. Let's go to Luke chapter 21 and 36 to close this out.
It's the book of Luke chapter 21 and verse 36. Mm-hmm. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
So this is what we are here to do, because someone might be new here who's listening and say, hey, but what's the point in all of this doom and gloom? And why are you telling us all of this? The point is to watch and pray and to prepare spiritually, mentally, and physically, getting a leg up on what's going on so that you aren't caught in propaganda and make poor decisions. Instead, if you've been watching these news channels, you've been girding yourself up and you're preparing to make good decisions and decisions that will benefit you and your family when these times must come. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. See you all next time. Peace. Actually, before I end the live, put this up here for Sister Rose, I'm assuming. She at Rhea Israel asks, what's your email? All right, so our email is sosaints.community@gmail. Let me go through. I'm going to go through after we close out to see if I missed the email. I've checked them regularly. I didn't see one, but maybe I missed it. but we definitely want to make sure we get you to the Passover. Definitely want to get you to the Passover. Okay? So if we can't figure this out tonight, please do come to class tomorrow. We're gonna have class in the morning. Oh, she sent it to my other email. Okay, okay, I haven't been checking that. I'll get it, sis. I'll look through and I'm assuming she means the Dom D Dixon. Okay, yeah, I got it. I just didn't check it. I'm so sorry. So I appreciate that. I gotta go through my emails, and we will see you all tomorrow. All right. So with that, peace.